First of all, congratulations. That's incredible. How did it feel to win $1 million?
Surreal. It was really surreal. It still is kind of surreal. We carried that ticket around for about a week before we realized that we had hit the power, or we had hit all five numbers. And the funniest thing of that week was that I kept seeing sevens, eights, and nines all week long. Like I saw them everywhere. And one of my employees at my store, she's like, "Oh, maybe you hit the lottery." And I'm like, "Ha ha ha." I didn't even think about it. And when my husband went and checked the tickets that night, he came running home and I heard him pounding up the stairs. He's like, "Tammy, Tammy." And I'm like, "What?" And he comes in the bedroom. He's like, I think we hit five numbers. And, you check it 1,000 times and we're looking down, looking up, looking down, looking at my phone. And we're like, whoa, whoa. We always said that we would do a big happy dance if we did that. So, and go running down the street is what we said. But I just went running through the house instead. I did a few things like Googling stuff online that had to do with law of attraction. What I remember writing down 50 times for 5 days, like a mantra, like money is available to me. So that's what I was doing. I was writing those things down. I was visualizing, and I was also doing some auto writing and some different things. And in the auto writing, it said I was you're going to play these numbers to win the lottery.
So what happened, I was 15 years old, and I was really wanting a car for my 16th birthday. So 2 months before my 16th birthday, my parents and I had saying, "Hey, am I still getting that car for my 16th birthday?" And at that moment, my dad said, "No, you're not getting it." I had to go buy something. I was very, very, very upset. So my mom, trying to calm me down, she said, "Don't worry, we're going to win the Florida lottery on your birthday." And me being 15 years old, you believe what your mom says, and I had no doubt. So we continued on for 2 months. Right before we went to bed, we'd pray. And before I would go to sleep, I had this routine myself. It was me visualizing that we won, including in that after it got closer to my birthday, people would say, "Cynthia, what are you getting for your 16th birthday?" And I said, "Oh, I'm getting a car." And they was like, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And I said, "We're going to win the Florida lottery." And they really thought we were crazy, or really thought I was. But the level of faith and belief was out of this world. I didn't care if they didn't believe me because I believed it so much. The night before the drawing, my mother had the lottery slips and she randomly picked the numbers. And she had a total of 15 tickets. And I watched her. Every one of them, it would just flow. She didn't hesitate. She didn't think about it. It just flowed. So that night of my birthday, we actually watched it on the news. And we ended up waiting a few minutes to look at the numbers, even though we really thought we was on a win. All three of us, my dad, my mom, and myself, thought we were still going to win. And she went through them, and it was the 13th ticket that she had picked randomly herself. And that's when shock. We were so surprised, even though we believed it. When the moment hit, it was so euphoric, so unreal. And it took us probably 30 minutes to calm down. And the only reason why I calmed down a little bit is my dad felt like he was about to have a heart attack.
What happened was I'd been buying lottery tickets for about 6 or 7 years. And I was at my friend's house, my buddy Daryl, and we were watching football on TV, and I had these numbers flash in my head. And I got, gosh, that's strange. The last time that happened to me was I was playing crib with my grandmother, and 7 of hearts flashed in my head, and gosh, that's what turned over for a 24-point hand. Oh, and so Daryl came over and said, "Write these numbers down." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Those look like good lottery numbers." And so these numbers were coming up. They were just dancing with me. I mean, you could feel that energy coming. You could feel it just. And a girlfriend I had at the time, I said, listen, this is going to happen. Be prepared. Oh, that's nice. Wish you all the best of luck. And I definitely knew it was going to happen. There was no question. It was a question of more when than if. And I will.
How did you know?
It is just an energy you feel, like it's a force. It's a force coming at you, and I think the best way to describe it is that you have tickets for a rock concert or something, right? And you get there, and that energy's building up, and then the lights go down, and bam, the show, right? And I went to the local corner store. It was a very small town I was living in Lamont, Alberta, and it was the very last ticket in the pile. So the lady behind the till, she was very gracious and walked me through the whole steps. And it's very surreal now. It's 8.5 years now, and some mornings I still wake up and go, oh my gosh, But at that time, I was the largest winner in Canadian history.
I mean, you visualized this exact amount, 112. So where did that come from? And I read that you wrote that down, and why that specific amount, and what did that actually feel like when you played that specific amount and it came up and your belief became reality? What did that feel like, and why that specific amount?
I chose that amount because it's close to my birthday. That was the only reason. I made it a point to take it a time daily and visualize myself as not just winning it, but also imagining how it would feel at that time too. I would make up songs. I would just get into the vibration of just being a winner and feeling like I was a winner. So that was one aspect of it. Writing it down, I realized that when you write down your goals, it gives it that much more power. And so I made it a point to write it. And after a while, I just did not think about it often. I mean, I put myself into this state of belief. I kept the faith, and it happened. It happened at the time it was supposed to.
Was the reality of it happening the same as what you envisioned?
Oh, yeah. I imagined myself holding the check. I imagined myself wearing the shirt I was wearing, the way that I looked. I basically put myself into my vision. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. And so that's what I did. I just kept the faith that, you know what, this jackpot will show up. And I did not deviate from that thought. I did not think that it would be anything different from what I saw in my vision, because I created that vision. And what I say to people who ask me, how do you do that? I said, well, it's the same as when you're looking at a TV screen, a computer screen.
What did it feel like when you found out that you won?
Oh, I mean, the feeling was just elation, joy. The funny thing is, there was a feeling of, I've done it. The reason why was because I'd always visualized and manifested this. And so when I actually won, there was a mixture of emotions. Obviously, I was so happy, and I actually jumped up and I punched the air and I said, yes, I've done it.
So you believed that this was going to happen before it happened?
That's it. Exactly.
And you actually wrote a check to yourself, I was reading, before this happened. And you wrote a check out for £1 million. And so what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. I did. So the funny thing was that I watched that interview of Jim Carrey, and where he says he wrote the check for $10 million. And the second I stopped watching that video, I went straight into my bedroom. I got my checkbook out and I wrote myself a check for £1 million. And I actually have the check here, which I framed.
Oh, wow.
Here.
Look at that. Yeah, you can.
That's the check. It's for £1 million. It's written out to me. And on the back of it, there's National Lottery. And I said, when I wrote this check, by the time I'm 35 years old, I'm going to win £1 million on the lottery, and I'm going to be able to cash that check. And then on my 34th birthday, I won £1 million on the lottery.
That is extraordinary. You were doing this intentionally, and then you actually won. What did that feel like when you actually saw that you won?
It was totally surreal. There was a moment when I scanned the ticket on my phone on the National Lottery app. I scanned the ticket and it came up on the screen with 1 million. Congratulations, you've won £1 million. And it was, I'll tell you, it's funny because it was only when I called the lottery headquarters and I spoke to a very nice girl. I think her name was Corinne. She was so nice. And it was only when she said the words to me, congratulations, Mr. Howard, I can confirm you've won £1 million. And it was when she said that, I said, no. I said, you're joking. She said, I'm being serious. She said, I've got it on the screen in front of me. My computer screen says your ticket is worth £1 million on the raffle code. Congratulations. And I said to her, thank you. This is life-changing.
The check that you wrote out to yourself in 2012, was this just hanging out in your wallet, or what did you do with this? Did you intentionally visualize and manifest as some lottery winners have done?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% I did. So when I wrote the check, I actually stuck it at the end of my bed so that every night when I went to sleep and every morning when I woke up, I would look at it. I'd see the check for £1 million and I used to touch it. And this sounds crazy. I used to kiss it. I used to touch it. I used to look at it every single day. And I absolutely believed every time I touched that check or I looked at that check for £1 million that I wrote to myself, I said, Daniel, before you're 35, you are going to win the lottery. You're going to win this check for £1 million and you're going to be able to cash the check. And then it actually happened. So yeah, I used to keep it above my bed and I looked at it every day.
And you said this aloud?
I used to say it aloud. I used to say it aloud probably every single day.
So you won $1,000 per week for life.
I do believe a lot in manifestation. I've had a certain sense that the universe was always going to take care of me. You know, I've read The Secret. I've done a lot of gratitude work. It was a full moon. I always sit out. I light a candle to the full moon and I think about what I'm grateful for. And I was having like the most beautiful night the night before. Like my husband and I were sitting outside, we're listening to old records, and I see a shooting star, and I look over and I say, Adam, I just saw a shooting star. And he's like, what do you want? What do you wish for? And I looked around and I said, I have everything I could ever want. I can't even think of anything I want right now. And then he was like, okay. So, and then the next day I won the money. Strange thing is this girl had given me a dress the week before, and it was like a vintagey kind of blue dress, and I had no shoes to go with it. So I thought, I want to show her how much I love this dress, and I worked with her. So I want to just go to Claire's and buy a cheap pair of shoes that go with this dress. So we went to Claire's, and then there was like a Shoppers Drug Mart right there. So I just decided to pop in, and when I checked out, the woman in front of me bought a ticket, like a Cash for Life ticket. So I was like, oh, I should buy a Cash for Life ticket. And then, so I put that on my bill. And then we got in the car, and I had already bought my shoes, and we were heading home. And I started scratching the ticket, and I just see life. And then I scratch again, I see life. And then I scratch again, and I see life. And I'm like, and I said, Adam, I think I just won Cash for Life. And he just looked shocked at me. And then the next morning, I went to a grocery store, and they checked the ticket. And instead of the usual, there's like this little song that goes, it's like a different song, like a song I've never heard before, all these bells and whistles. And there's...
For people that aren't yet familiar with your story, what have you won, and how did that happen?
Okay, my probably my biggest claim to fame is winning the dream home, but that is just sort of the tip of the iceberg. Ever since I've been a kid, I have considered myself a money magnet. Even as a young kid, I was finding money, and I was accused of stealing it from someone else. Well, one time when I was a kid, we were riding our bicycles over to the little corner store, and I saw all this money blowing around the parking lot, so I jumped off the bicycle, and I'm grabbing up all these bills. And then when I got home, I was sort of accused of stealing money. So then, I said, look, I found it. And the neighbor who was riding on the back of my bicycle, he saw it. So then my mother called the neighbor's kid over for an interrogation. And he validated, yeah, he saw me jump off the bicycle, and I found all this money, and I brought it home. So speeding up to, I think it was April 2002, I had a ticket on Lottomax. Following the draw, I got 5 out of 7. So that paid $147.60. I thought, hey, this is cool. So I thought a couple weeks later, I thought, I'm going to try this again to see if I can duplicate what I did before. So I got 5 $2 plays, and I got 6 out of 7. So that paid $2,408. The very next day, I was in Point Edward Casino. I was only playing 5-cent slots. So within about maybe 5-10 minutes, I had 3,200 nickels. So that's $160. Christmas Eve, this would be 2003. So I went over to the 7-Eleven across the street, and I think the Lottomax was $1 at the time. So I think I bought 5 or 6 tickets. Okay, so Christmas morning, just before we head out to go down to Windsor, I checked my ticket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn, the 6 number was on the second row. That paid $1,419.50. December 1st, 2002, they were having a hospital lottery, right, which they're giving away a dream home. So I thought, well, wouldn't this be neat if we won this house? So then I start visualizing this house. So we actually had gone to the house. We were playing a little game. We went there twice, and we could actually draw the whole layout. Give me a piece of paper, and I could draw the whole layout of the house. I was actually telling people that I'm going to win the lottery. The second time I went to the dream home, I said, I need to know, where are you drawing the ticket? The ticket was going to be drawn in the dream home. It was going to be drawn in the garage, and they said it was going to be on the right side. Not the left side. The bin where all the tickets were going to be on the right side. So in my dreams, what I did is I moved all our belongings from our old house. I moved them to the right side of the garage from floor to ceiling. To me, in my mind, they had no other choice than to pull my ticket because that was all my stuff. Okay. So, and actually I had visioned this. It wasn't a matter that, I foresaw something. This was something that I created. Okay. To me, it's like this was a projected one. So I actually had lived this whole experience. And so when they did call, it was just like, it was like a replay. The long weekend before the May 31st win, I was telling my wife that I said, we're gonna win the house. And I said, when they call me, I'm going to say, did I win the hot tub? Because the hot tub came with the house. Okay. So she was just sort of ignoring me. And so then on Sunday, I was talking to my wife, and I said, I'm going to say that I win the hot tub. And she said to me on Sunday, well, don't say that. You'll sound stupid. And then also, I cut my hair on Sunday. I said, I want to look good for, when I'm on the media on tomorrow morning.
Before you won?
The day that I won. So then, so I'm working on the computer, and I think it might be around 10:30 a.m. The phone rings. So I think the gentleman, I think his name was Bob, so-and-so from London Health Sciences, are you sitting down? And guess what I said? Did I win the hot tub? And then he was sort of like startled. Like, what do you mean hot tub? Like, I said, well, the hot tub comes with the dream home. They said, yes, you won it, right? And then so that, my legs were starting to shake. Can you make it out to the house today or whatever? So yeah, I can, pick up the wife and all this. And I said, give me an hour or so. So then I called my wife at work, and I said to her, I said, what did I tell you we're going to win? Dead silence on the phone. She said, the house. And I said, yes, we won the house. You're joking. I said, no, we won the house. I said, tell your boss you're going to need the day off. I was telling people that I was going to win, right? And I won. Then I walked back over to the 7-Eleven, and I walked in, and I said, hey, I won the house. Like I was there an hour before. I said, today's the day I win the house.
How did they react?
Well, Sharon they're just sort of looking at me. Okay, you're pulling my leg. And then I talked to the manager, George, and I said, George, I won the house. And he's going, sure you did. And I said, look, you're going to see me on the news at 6 and 11 today. I said, I'll be on TV. Right. So I said, hey, I told you I was going to win.
What did you win? And how did that happen?
So I won on Friday, the 28th of August, 2015, £1 million sterling. It was actually the Euro Millions draw, which is for the whole of Europe. But I didn't only win $1 million. I also won a fabulous trip to Song Sa Island in Cambodia, which was all expenses paid. And we stayed in the Royal Villa.
And I was reading anyway that it's tax-free.
It is, Timothy. It's 100% tax-free. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you have felt like a lucky person throughout your life, because I feel like that's a thread among many lottery winners as well.
If you feel lucky, I think you probably attract stuff to you. I do believe in, I mean, even Einstein said it's all energy, isn't it? And it's what we attract, and we vibrate on certain levels. And I think I just did it unconsciously, rather than, you know, people try very consciously to attract stuff, law of attraction.
Did you think that you would ever win before it happened?
I did, you know, I just kind of did. Yeah. And funnily enough, about 6 weeks before that, I was at work, and a lady I was working with, she said, oh, you know, there was a huge big win in Euromillions. And of course, I hadn't checked my tickets, bought them, threw them in the bag. And I was convinced. I thought, oh, and she said, it's local, it's somebody local. And I thought, oh my God, that's me. Oh my. And she said, what if I don't see you tomorrow? I said, well, if you don't see me tomorrow, I've won. But anyway, I came home, I checked the tickets, it wasn't me. I do believe in, you know, attracting stuff, and and energy and what you vibrate on. And every time I checked the numbers, I kind of thought, well, I wish them all the best, because my turn's coming. I think about 6 weeks later, I did win the million. Yeah.
Wow. So it was 6 weeks from
about 6 weeks after that. Yeah. Month ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I just had this feeling that I was going to win again. And so I walked in, I said, oh, can I buy, I think it was the Europe lottery. I think it was the Irish lottery. I said, can I have a lucky dip lottery ticket? And he said, oh. And guess what? I won €500.
Wow. Congratulations.
I just knew. Isn't that funny?
I won the New York State Lottery, and it was $45 million. For a few weeks before winning, I would have these dreams about my grandmother, who has passed on. And my grandmother was telling me, check up on the lottery numbers, because I had come up with these lottery numbers, which were an amalgamation of addresses where I used to live. And for 2.5 years, I was playing the same numbers. But what happens is, as things become a habit, you forget to check. You buy the ticket, but then you forget to check. And so my grandmother was coming into my dreams and saying, you know, idiot, check the numbers, or check it. She kept on saying this to me. My grandmother's voice kept saying to me to go check the lottery. I was just, and the day, the Saturday when I won, I had no idea that I had won until Monday.
Well, it was in my dad's office, really. We were just having a chat, as you do. And he went round 4 or 5 people. They all have various amounts that they'd say they'd be happy that if they won that. And I said 110 million. And everyone looked at me and said, why do you want that amount? And I said, well, I've worked out that's what I need to do everything that I want to do. As well, my dad and I used to have chats all the time. And I tell my dad that what I'd have and stuff I'd buy and, you know, and stuff I wanted to do. And he used to say to me, it's nice to dream, son. And I used to say to him, it's not a dream, Dad. You just watch. It's going to happen. And obviously the big newspaper thing was that on the Friday, I told the girls that I was retiring and I wouldn't be in on the Monday because I was going to win the lottery tonight.
Before the drawing?
Yeah, that was on the Friday when I was at work. I had a real epiphany driving to work that, you know, it was just bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. And I was sort of like, it's now or never. And I literally drove across the traffic lights, stopped at the shop. I didn't know the amount at all when I bought the ticket. And I bought my cigarettes. And I was just about to go to bed on that night when the draw had happened. My partner said to me, oh, I'm going to bed. And it was about 10:30. I said, so I'm just going to check my ticket. And I literally pulled the ticket out, checked it. It was the whole top line. So I didn't actually have to spend the whole amount. I only had to buy one line. I watched a thing with you on The Professor about manifestation and stuff. That's exactly how I do it. You know, I didn't know about it. I honestly did, but everything he talks about in that interview, that's bang on me. The whole way through is just like, yeah. It's crazy.
My Nana always told me about this positive visualization, that if you visualize things in a positive way, you can kind of make them happen, and it kind of worked. About a week before I won, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and I said, there's this algorithm that the more you say things, the better chances it's happening. I said, so I'm going to say lottery a lot. And my sister was talking about that one time, is that the more you say things and the more you kind of like visualize it and the more you think about it, that it has a more chance of coming true. So, and like, I used to positively visualize that when I was going into a parking lot, I was going to find a spot that was really close and it would happen. Or I was driving downtown and I visualized, where I wanted to park and it would happen. And
I'm like, it's good to meet you. They give me the bouquet of flowers. I'm like, so you have something to give to me? And they go, yeah. And they said, do you know why we're here? I'm like, well, I got a letter saying I won at least $1,000. And they said, you're right. You won at least that. They turned it around. There's my name, $1 million super prize. I fall to the ground screaming with that still active phone in my hand. My boss is like, what the heck is going on? So I put the phone back up to my ear and say, I won $1 million. I won $1 million.
Wow.
So they surprised me in person with the balloons, with the flowers, with the news crews there. I always like to daydream. So at my other job, when it was slow, I was working in retail at the time at a small business. I would kind of map out what I would do if I had won $1 million. So I'd be like, okay, well, I would pay off this debt. I would make sure I pay off my taxes. I would donate to this charity, blah, blah, blah. So I would always kind of have an idea of what I wanted to do. I always wanted to put that intention out there. I like that. I didn't know how or when. I just knew somehow it would happen.
You mentioned earlier, how you were envisioning winning before it happened. Do you think there are quite a few people out there that believe in the concept of the law of attraction, in sort of creating something with your mind and envisioning it, and then it becomes reality?
I am a true believer in that. I didn't realize that was what I was doing prior. A lot of people also call it manifesting as well. And prior to my PCH win, my family had won a car. I had won a trip to New York City. And I had won other little prizes here and there. So I always believe that what you put out into the universe or your energy, you will get back. So I didn't realize law of attraction, manifesting, that was part of it. It may not be the exact thing you were requesting, but it could be something very similar to what you were requesting.
That happened. I think I had already won close to, by that time, 20 something thousand. But I'll tell you something else that was that almost made me faint on the set. When my husband and I got married, we were so broke, and we'd always wanted to go to St. Thomas. And so just over the years, I'd be like, we'd really love to go take a vacation to St. Thomas. So there is a round on Wheel of Fortune where you win a trip. And during that round, I won a trip to St. Thomas. And they have a category called the same letter, where basically if you land on the same letter, you get a bonus. I believe it was like $1,000 bonus in addition to the prize. But one of the wedges that I spun was a $3,500 wedge. And I looked at the board and I was like, that same letter is a P, right? So I saw this pattern going on and I called out the P. And all these P's lit up. The puzzle was perplexing puzzle pieces. And I couldn't even calculate how much I'd won by then. But that was another oh my God, I just did that too. Yeah. And so that was the catalyst that took me over to where nobody could catch me. And so that's when I was just like, oh my God, I won. And then we got to the bonus round and I won an additional 32,000. I caught a couple of interviews that you've done. And I think what stood out for me is these people that always talk about this feeling that they had.
right? And how it was a different feeling than anything else. And when I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. That happened to me. You know, I can't even tell you how many times over the past 20 years we've sat down and watched. And, you know, you're just an average person watching TV and you're saying, oh, well, this would be nice, or the idea would be nice. But this particular day, it was overpowering. It was just very different. I could feel it. But that particular day, it was like something was saying, hey, you need to go do this now. And I saw myself standing in the blue section. And I was like, that's weird. And telling my husband, and I was like, no, I really saw myself standing there. It's almost to the outfit that I wore. And the funny thing is, back then, I didn't really understand the whole visualization process and the power of that. I would get in front of the TV and I would practice spinning the wheel. I had no idea that you had to go to the studio and practice spinning the wheel, right? But this is what I would do. And I would look funny and my husband would laugh at me and I would say, no, this is what I have to do. This is what I didn't even know that's what I had to do. For it to be that precise, for it to be that accurate, for the exact outcome to happen down to the spot that I was standing in. That's not coincidence. So, yeah.
So I went to sleep with the intention of seeking hope and inspiration, and I had this very vivid dream that I had won the lottery, that it had already happened within the dream. I didn't see the balls dropping down or anything like that. I didn't see specific numbers. I didn't see an amount. Within the dream, I had already won the lottery. I was just so ecstatic and so excited. And when I woke up, it took a little bit to realize that it was just a dream, that it had not already happened. It was that real. And from that point on, I believed that it was going to happen. And a few months later, I did. In 1999, when I won the lottery, the day that I won, I purchased this ticket, and when I saw the numbers on the ticket, it was a computer generated quick pick, and when I saw the numbers that particular day, when I looked at the ticket, I really felt like those particular numbers were going to come up. I just had a feeling, a gut feeling, that those numbers were going to come up on that day, and I told my coworkers, I told my friends that I was going to win. Now that night, I had another vivid dream that signified the end of something. It signified the end of something. So I had this dream and I woke up to banging on my bedroom door. At that point in time, I had moved back to my parents' house. He's like, Tim, get up. Someone won the lottery. You sold the winning ticket. Did you buy a ticket last night? And I just thought to myself, yes, I did buy a ticket. I bought a ticket. I told everyone I was going to win. I believed I was going to win. And maybe I won. If I sold the winning ticket, maybe I sold that ticket to myself. And I was just like freaking out. I jumped out of bed. I rushed upstairs to see and compared the numbers to the newspaper, kind of looked back and forth. And they matched. Every single number matched. And I just started jumping up and down. My father was there. We sort of hugged each other and jumped up and down like little kids in a candy store. It was really, really surreal. Well, we don't have to look any further than Raymond Roberts. In December of 2022, his intuition told him to not just buy one ticket, but to buy 6. And not to use just any old numbers, but to use identical numbers on each ticket. And as a result, he scored a huge jackpot, winning $390,000 6 times. He chose to take a lump sum for 5 of the tickets, earning nearly $2 million. But for the 6th ticket, he chose the annuity option, meaning he will get 20 annual payments of $25,000.
So I won £30,000. And I entered something, and it's called the postcode lottery that we have in the UK.
Well, how did that feel to win?
It was fantastic, only because I believe in like the power of manifestation, and I have been daydreaming all the time about winning.
In October of 2013, a Mega Millions winner came forward in the U.S. state of Maryland to claim a $189 million Mega Millions jackpot. This lucky winner dreamt of his relatives saying the winning numbers in a dream the night before he bought 10 lottery tickets for the Mega Millions. He actually played different combinations of the numbers from his dream along with his birth month, date, and year. He's quoted as saying, "It's like they were talking to me about the numbers in the dream." According to lottery officials, before picking the numbers in the store, he asked for heavenly guidance. He said, and I quote, "I prayed, Lord, if you want this money to belong to me, guide my hand." The morning after the drawing, a relative called him on the phone while he was at work and told him that someone had hit a $189 million jackpot at their favorite store. So the winner asked for the winning numbers on the phone, and as he was being told the numbers, he's quoted as saying, "Wow, I got all those numbers on one line." The last time we spoke, one of your largest wins was $107,000.
Right.
What types of games have you won?
Yeah, so I've won the state draw game here in Florida. It's called the Fantasy 5. That was my first big win. That one I visualized, I manifested that to buy a car I wanted. Was a very rare Dakar yellow M3. And then I did scratch offs. Biggest on a scratch off was 100,000, but I won other prizes like 10,000, 20,000. So I think I was doing a live and someone was asking me a question. They were saying, how do we manifest what we want? How do we manifest like money or lottery? And I just said to them, I said, all right, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. I'm going to manifest $10,000 in abundance in money. And I'm open to the way it's going to come out. And then I laughed in the live and I said, well, knowing me, it's probably going to be through the lottery. Then I went to the pick four. So if you're a lottery player, you know about the pick fours, the pick five games. That's where I did most of my damage, so to speak. Was it 107,000 that I won? I won more than that. I won a pretty nice one. I think it was almost 300 grand. And I'll tell you a story on that. So I decided I was going to use the lottery, right? So I said, okay, I played the lottery, and then I went to go see the car and the owner of the car, and he said, man, he says, how are you going to pay? I said, I'm going to buy the car cash. He just laughed and said, okay, you're going to get a loan from the bank or something? And I said, I'm going to win the lottery, and I'm going to come back and buy the car cash. And he says to me, he says, all right, man. He says, if that happens, man, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to call my dad and tell my dad, hey, Dad, this guy won the lottery and bought the car. And so I started visualizing that for about 6 months. I was visualizing me going into, at the time it was a Publix. I used to go check my tickets, and I visualized the machine checking it, and it would show me the top prize. And I visualized calling him and say, hey, man, I'm coming to get the car. And then I could visualize him on the phone. He was saying, really, dude? He was laughing, and he called his dad. And that's exactly how it played out. It was so trippy that when I actually did win and I had the ticket and I was checking it, and I couldn't tell if I was still in that dream state, that visualization state, or was actually happening, because it played out exactly to the T. I went down, I went to the bank, I would say, hey, give me $34,000. It's like, I can't give you $34,000. You got to order the money. I was like, okay, well, give me a cashier's check. I took it down, I brought it to him. In the office, his dad was there, called his dad. It played out the same way. And that day, picked up a car and drove it off.